Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Crossover Media. And we're here at the 5K Hunger Walk, put on by Food for the Poor, and this time in association with the Why Be Afraid Foundation, all courtesy of Johan Blake. Yes, world champion Johan Blake, world Olympic record holder Johan Blake, right here in Florida. And right about now, one of the main sponsors of every 5K walk that has gone on since so far, and I'm not sure if she's competitor for fastest woman, but our own Jamaican Consul General, Sandra Griffiths. How are you doing?
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. It's still morning, yeah.
Yes, very well. We got up early, but it's still morning. I am doing wonderfully well, thank you, and it's a beautiful day. Little chilly when we started out, but it's gotten warmer. Warm crowd. Johan was very warm, very, very, very positive, and very much larger in charge of the walk this morning. It was good.
Well, it's hard not to be larger in charge when you're world champion. But before going to Johan, let's talk about the 5K walk. You've been involved for a while with Food for the Poor. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, not with the walk specifically, prior to this one, but with Food for the Poor, particularly because they do such wonderful work. And they are a homegrown brand that established themselves here in the USA, based in Florida. That is now actually the 6th, I think, largest charity in the USA. And reaching out particularly to the Caribbean and Jamaica. They were very much on the ground with Sandy recently. They gave a lot of support, and they're one of the first responders in Jamaica, along with Red Cross and the others. But Food for the Poor is special to us because it has a Caribbean root and a Caribbean responsibility in the way they do their outreach. And of course they do go beyond the Caribbean, Central America, but we are happy to be here because Johan was in fact the identified Grand Marshal race champion for this year's 5K. And because we heard he was coming, they reached out to us to say, your champion is coming, can you collaborate with us? And we're happy to do so. So the tourist boat is brought on board, and they sponsored this morning's tent, a little hospitality tent. We met for meeting and greeting of Johan and some of the others, and it went very, very well, and we'll probably be here again next year.
You mentioned Hurricane Sandy. How are things looking for Jamaica when it comes to Hurricane Sandy?
Well, there was considerable damage in terms of infrastructure, institutions like hospitals and schools. The roads are particularly badly affected in the billions of Jamaican dollars.
Right.
But it's a little ironic too that because you saw a disaster, then the response from the international community wouldn't be the same as would have been if there was a identified disaster level catastrophe in Jamaica. But that doesn't mean that we have not had substantial damage and lots of persons are displaced. And this is where, in fact, I think Johan had reached out to about 700 persons in Jamaica, matching Food for the Poor in terms of reach to effect immediately by Sandy. And continues to work with schools. I think his PR manager said to me that he was, in fact, with Manchester in particular, and he was, in fact, building and refurbishing schools and giving back to socially challenged, impoverished communities, and that's really, really good. We want to support that.
No, that's pretty amazing. I mean, world champion, him don't need to that. I mean, going on so well right now. So big respect to him for that. Now, in terms of back to Hurricane Sandy, we're talking about billions of dollars. And Food for the Poor, even though it's 6 biggest, can only do so much. Johan Blake, although world champion, can only do so much. Are there any things that people can plug into in order to support?
Well, we in the consulate tend to handle the matter a little scientifically. The days of emptying your cupboards and sending what you think is useful to Jamaica are no longer how we operate. We tend to await a specific needs list from Kingston to say this is the area in which we want support.
Right.
At the moment, the Prime Minister has announced that particular countries, the Spanish, the Japanese, I think, France and some others, have actually targeted areas. So the Japanese are doing the hospital roofs, and then others are doing specific things, and therefore there is a whole bilateral outreach as well. And through the multilateral agencies, they're getting some funding. So what we are trying to do is identify precisely what. I would suspect, though, at this stage, that a restocking, for instance, of the ODPEM, Disaster Relief Agency,
right,
because they would have housed 1,500 persons were displaced immediately. They were in shelters, put it that way. and they would have had to have been stocked and using stocks for, say, the 3-4 days over there. So, for instance, if they would want to restock their tarpaulins or their hurricane kits or their cots or their blankets, that kind of thing, we would want to say to persons, well, they want 1,500 blankets or they want stocks of water to replenish their water stocks. So we're trying to identify if that need is there. But in any event, they can always use funding. And we say to persons, if you have a $10 or a $5 and you want to give to the cause, please remember Food for the Poor is working there, but also the UTPEM directly will take that kind of money as well.
Now you mentioned needs list earlier. Has there been a notification of when this needs list might be made available?
I would think it is probably available as we speak, because they were doing that thorough assessment of damage and a thorough assessment of particular needs. So I will get back to Kingston to say, is it now ready? Because normally they would send that out to the missions and say to the missions, well, this day we're targeting for fundraising specifically. But I do know that infrastructure is critical, so they're looking at bilateral countries and agencies and who can help with specific things, and engineering and so on and so forth. And but everybody in the communities overseas can do their part. For instance, some of the larger corporations have already responded. So Jamaica National, for instance, had reduced during the remittance period their cost. They had taken out the cost altogether at one stage, and now they're at 50% of cost. So if you remit, you won't be paying the remittance fee up to 50%, and that money would then be put in account for hurricane relief.
Excellent,
So
excellent.
those kind of things are happening, and others are doing the same thing in Jamaica.
Now last but not least, 50 years. This year's 50 years. Coming close to the year, it's November. You know, I know there's another month. Quite sure you have more work to do. But you know, this year we had Olympics, we had major events all over the diaspora. What is your perspective as a major cog in the whole diasporic celebration of our 50 years?
No, I think it was outstanding. It was a fabulous year. Jamaicans were oozing pride, literally. And our events here, for instance, in South Florida, and even beyond South Florida, and Florida in society, and the South USA, because we do cover from here the 13 southern states. And I was in Atlanta, and I was in Texas, and I will go to the Caymans before the year is over.
Nice.
And the Bahamas, because we cover them as well. But it has been outstanding. Persons developed a calendar of activities. We did one here in Florida, put everybody's thing on there so we'd have clashes in the community. And every event that featured Jamaica and targeted Jamaicans was a success, I believe. Persons were celebrating with pride, because when you look at imbalance, we ain't a perfect country by any means, and perfection is something that we all aim for. But in terms of achievements in all walks of life, our professionals, our athletes, our musicians, entertainers, our strong cultural dynamic, we have a lot to be proud of. And to be interested, in fact, the professionals here are all excelling. In fact, so much so that we had here in Florida an award ceremony, and we were saddled with 50 persons, and we ended up with 75 persons who were pioneers, who built the community, who were excelling in their field, and who were Jamaicans in very high places in the society. So we thought we should highlight that fact as well, and we did that. And we had a fabulous flag day, and there was one in Atlanta as well. And we also had a fabulous church service. And we actually managed to beam the 100-meter final into the church service.
Right.
It was outstanding. And the support, the spirit, it was good. We were a very good, a golden year. Couldn't have been better. And Sandy, thank the Lord, although it happened at the end of the year, was not as dangerous. We still lost a life, regrettably, but it was not the kind of devastation that America was affected by. And we really hearts go out to those who are, in fact, displaced in America and who are suffering. And we wanted to say we're thankful that we were spared some of that this year. And look forward to another 50 years of great achievements, community building in the diaspora, development in Jamaica, because all of it coming at the end of the day, and the people of Jamaica at home and abroad are who benefit from it.
We're here with Consul General for Jamaica in Atlanta, South Florida, General Sandra Griffiths. And I want to say big respect to you. We're at the 5K walk with Food for the Poor. And of course, Johan Blake's Foundation, Why Be Afraid?
Thank you, Jason, for waking up so early to come out and join us.
You see me tripping over, I'm taking up because I can't. I'm going to use that thing. Thank you very much. Crossover Media.